All right, guys, and welcome to this week in CBL Conference Finals Edition. Today, I'm joined with Commissioner, not Jeff, and not Commissioner Chris. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Pretty good.
Doing great. A lot of great matchups this week, and we get to see the end of it. We get to see the end of the conference tournaments, and we get to move into the NCAA tournament this week. So what else is better?
Well, let's just get right into it because we have a lot to cover. Luke, you want to take it away?
I will take it away. If y'all give me 1 second, and I'll share my screen.
How did Rutgers do this week, Peter?
No, we don't appreciate that. Considering you lost.
We all lost.
That's
okay.
That's a lot of shit to talk.
All right. So we have this beautiful NCAA tournament bracket right here, ready to go. We just don't have any team names. We're not ready to show any team names. This is the CBL NCAA tournament reveal show. We're going to find out who fell 1 through 24, who are the 24 teams that are going to be competing for the national championship over the next couple of weeks. I'm excited. You guys ready to get started on this? We'll go.
I'm pumped.
Yeah,
We'll start with number 9. We'll start with the second bids for the regular season for the conferences. We'll start with number 9 right here. Team very familiar to the podcast. There is a little bit of coincidence here that number 9 is Florida International, Chris's team. Luckily, we are joined here by Chris, so we can hear his thoughts on his season, on how he thinks the tournament's going to play out. Just a little background, so Chris doesn't have to say it. FIU finished 28-2 this season. They were regular season bid for American with the most points in the American Conference, and in the entire league, they finished second in points behind DBU. Just a meager 4,000 points behind DBU, but they are second in the league in points, so nothing to sniff at there. Chris, what are your thoughts on the tournament, where you're landing, and how the American tournament played out for you?
I mean, first and foremost, I'm excited, man. When Ash invited me, Ash and the Army owner Paul Rayward invited me to come join the CBL. I think that everyone's initial reaction is like, man, I really want to make that tournament. Like, that sounds super cool, right? And that's like before we draft and all the trading that happened and whatnot. So, just thankful to get a spot here in a 128 team league, to be a 24 and to be in a 24 team playoff is pretty fun, and definitely a flex that I'll carry with me in the inaugural season. But initial reaction, I don't want to spoil too much in terms of who the number 1 seed is. We already know who that is. My hope was to avoid this side of the bracket in hopes to not have to face the number 1 team in the tournament. But I mean, again, I'm excited to get the first non-champ bid. Delaware put up a hell of a fight in the American Conference tournament. We've been saying it all year, right? Like, that conference is a juggernaut in terms of, we in our own chat said, 1 through 7 can win the tournament, and ironically 7 won the tournament, right? And it was a tough battle. But like I said last week, this was a team that had more starts than I did, and needed them to go right, and not just the starts, right? The offense. If you go back and check the stats, like, the offense kept up, and it's not like trying to boost myself, right? FIU finished second in terms of offense, like in terms of their bats, and second in scoring, right? So it was a uphill battle for Delaware, having to come from the 7th seed. But I take pride in losing to a top 25 team via the voters, and he was a champ, and nice little trash talk throughout the week that the Blue Hens prevailed. But excited to see where they land. Hopefully we'll meet each other down the road. But if not, best of luck. And yeah, that's all I got. I guess we'll wait and see who the rest of who my opponent is. Hopefully not someone from my own conference, but we'll find out.
Yeah, so a couple spoilers there from Chris. obviously UDEL winning the American Conference Championship, the inaugural season. We'll talk more about the 24 seed. We'll get a little bit more insight from you on your matchup against the 24 seed, and fingers crossed it's not someone from the American, but we'll find out very shortly. And thank you, Chris, for your insights there, and obviously we appreciate you on the show. And anyone else who's watching who thinks that they're in and might be in that top 24. Feel free to call in. I think we left a link on the Discord, so feel free to call in, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the tournament and the season as well. Moving along here, we'll move on to the opposite side. We'll move over to the 10 seed over here. 10 seed is the University of Baylor out of the Big 12, a 25-5 season. They got the regular season bid after DBU won the Big 12 championship today. They are third in the league in points right now, right behind Chris and FIU, and a tough loss to TCU in the second round of the Big 12. Peter, what are your thoughts? On the Baylor squad here?
Well, I mean, they're a good squad. I mean, they've been good all year. So I mean, it's 10th. I mean, it's a deep pool. 10th feels kind of sad that you're in a wild card spot, considering you finished top 10th. But there are better teams ahead of you. But any team that's really, I'd say, in the top 19 to 15 to 19, I'd say have a real shot to win the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in the Big 12 too, getting overshadowed by DBU, this team's still a juggernaut, right? Third in points. So I mean, if I'm on that side of the bracket, I'm a little nervous about Baylor. I would think that they're the best team on that side of the bracket right now, knowing who number one is and knowing who the second team in points, as we just revealed, was FIU. So very, very interesting to see what Baylor has in store on that side of the bracket.
So before we continue, right, but just so we clear it up for everybody watching, the 9 through 16 seeds are scored based off of regular season points. That is correct, right?
Yes. So it is the team to win their regular season bid out of their conference, and then 9 through 16 is based on regular season points. So Chris, awesome. Yes, that's why you're 9, and that's why Baylor is 10.
Got it.
So moving along here, we've covered 9, we've covered 10. Let's move on to number 11 down here on the bottom portion of the bracket over here. Coming in at number 11 from the SEC Conference, LSU. LSU 10th in the league in terms of record and points. They did finish 26-4, 5th in points. They do get the SEC regular season bid, so their loss in the first round to Vandy didn't mean anything. We knew that they were going to be in the tournament. And I believe LSU said that they would be calling in tonight. Peter, can you check to see if anyone's in the lobby right now to call in?
No, nobody besides who was already there.
Gotcha. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on the LSU squad here?
I mean, just off first glance, LSU Baylor on the same side is brutal, right? LSU and Baylor. I'll be completely honest. I was closer to hovering around the 4 or 5 spot in terms of points for most of the season. That 2 spot was held by Baylor and LSU back and forth for seemed like months on end. So again, you mentioned it. You mentioned about Baylor being the best team in that conference. LSU, if they use these weeks that they were in hiatus to get healthy and get that rotation back to where it was in mid-season, that's a hell of a spot to be in, right? We talked about the being on one side with Dallas Baptist and Jeremy, but Baylor and LSU being wildcard teams is a tough task.
No, for sure. And I think LSU, very similar situation to Baylor, a little overlooked behind the University of Tennessee. Obviously, a lot of people talk about, the senior squad out of Knoxville. I think they had the best record in the SEC was UT, but LSU had the most points. And obviously UT was playing in the SEC championship today. So LSU a little overlooked, but still fifth in points. Another great team on this side of the bracket, like you said. So LSU definitely is primed to make some runs here in the NCAA tournament. And the team has had a little bit of a break. The owner itself has not been having to set lineups, so hopefully that plays to his advantage coming into the first round of the NCAA tournament. Moving along from 11, we're going to bump over to the other side, back over to the FIU side. We'll feature the number 12 team on the bracket, which is from the Big East, University of Rhode Island, the second best team in the league, record of 30-0. The one of two teams to finish 30-0. We'll get to the other team that finished 30-0 a little bit later. They had the Big East regular season bid with the best record in the Big East. They finished sixth in points in the entire league, and they obviously had their Big East final loss today to UConn. So great season by UConn. I reached out to him great season by UConn, no doubt, and obviously we'll hear from UConn later, and we won't hear the end of it from UConn either. But a great season by University of Rhode Island. I know we gave him his flowers last week. The Rams have had a phenomenal season, and he's really worked his ass off to get his team to this point. I reached out to him earlier to see if he would call in. He said he couldn't make it. We gave him an opportunity to give a statement, and he said, this league is the most fun I've had playing fantasy baseball. Thanks for organizing and running it. Obviously, grateful to have you, URI, in this league. And it's funny, Chris, we talk a lot about you, about being a villain in the league. And maybe you can kind of give some perspective here from URI, because for me, it's just he's boisterous and he can back it up because he's 30-0. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on URI and his mentality going into the tournament?
I honestly think, and again, I'm not in the Big East, so I don't really know what happens behind the scenes, but I think he's a bit misunderstood, right? I think his comedy is a comedy that only he understands, which at times, can rub people the wrong way. I know a lot about that, right? At the end of the day, if you're going to be very vocal and give your opinions, the best way to back it up is by being good, right? And like, I can say that now, next season, I'm not gonna let so based off Chuck. So I don't know if you missed it. LSU gets the higher seed because they got more points. So 9 through 16 are the non-champs, and then based off of their point totals for the season. So that's why it would end up with Rhode Island at 12. I also had that confusion yesterday when we were talking about the pre-show. But going back to Rhode Island, I mean, I think being the villain is kind of fun, right? Like every conference should have one, and at the end of the day, they got a lot. They have a lot to prove, right? They finished undefeated. They lost to their bitter rival in UConn, and we'll see what happens with the Huskies next season and who's going to actually own them with their handshake bet. But man, it's going to be fun. And again, looking at it from a perspective that's a team that's here, getting a 30-0 team on your side of the bracket, actually both 30-0 teams on your side of the bracket is definitely not fun, but it's going to build a great, next couple weeks to a month of playoff baseball.
No, it should be a lot of fun. And I think someone once told me it's tough when you're outspoken in the league because it's just so easy to hate that. But he can back it up. He can absolutely back it up. Hats off to the URI Rams. And I hope he keeps it rolling because I love the Big East and I hope the best for all my Big East teams. I can live vicariously through them. Moving on from number 12, we'll move over to number 13, not moving far in the bracket. We get to from the PAC, University of California, the Cal. I don't know. What is the Cal?
They're Bears, I think.
Golden Bear. The Golden
Cal
Bears.
Golden Bears. There we go. No. Yes, Golden Bears. The Cal Golden Bears, for sure. 27-3 season, PAC regular season bid. I believe that was based on record, but I could be wrong. They did finish 9th in points in the entire season, and a tough first-round loss to Washington State, the only 1 seed to lose in the first round to the 8th seed. So very, very interesting finish for Chris there from Cal. Is he currently in the back room?
I think that's him talking, right?
Chris, if you want to join in and chat with us, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the tournament and the season. If you're around.
Man, these upsets, they led to some interesting teams getting pushed to the wild card, man.
Absolutely. So Peter, while we're waiting for Chris, and if he is going to hop on, what are your thoughts on the Cal Golden Bears?
I mean, they're, that. Honestly, not gonna lie, I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention to that conference specifically.
Yeah.
So listen, here in the Big Ten, we got a lot to worry about in our own. A lot of corn shortages going on.
There's a lot of corn going on in the Big Ten, and it's hard to figure out what's going on the West Coast when you're so focused on the corn in the middle of the country. Chris, what are your thoughts on the other Chris in the league?
The not evil Chris,
the good Chris.
Man, I mean, Cal's one of those teams that's like, they're very well versed, right? Because they're a part of the voting panel. They know these teams very well, right? Like when Peter mentioned that he wasn't super well versed with this conference. When you're in the panel, you get to look at these rosters a little bit deeper than you would if you weren't. And Cal's got just a great group of studs. Like that's just a brutal. Again, there are no teams that we've revealed so far that are easy matchups, right? Like just because they're in the wild card, there's not a single team that you can pick out and say, "Oh, I want one of those teams." Right? So, and that just goes to show how deep this league is, right? Like Cal could have won everything in this conference, and instead had that first round exit, and is now sitting at 13, I believe. Yeah, 13. So, I mean, this is going to get interesting because at some point, you're going to have to play most. You're going to have to go through a pretty deep road to the national championship. Is all I'm going to say. Right? We talked a lot about the Buttermaker run for DBU, and how difficult it was with the teams that Jeremy faced. Right? He played a Rhode Island. He played an FIU. He played a couple other top 10 teams. This might take the cake, honestly. Like unless you get one of those off weeks that like Tennessee had this week, you're not going to have there are no cupcake matchups at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we'll see kind of a constant theme here of these. I'll call them second tier teams, right? Because again, they're falling into that 9 to 16. We'll talk third tier teams, which are those teams that went 17 to 24 seeds, but they don't feel like second and third tier teams, right? I mean, they've played well all season, and then we'll kind of shift gears to that first tier, and for them it's momentum, right? Like I just won my conference tournament. Let's see how far we can take this, right? So we'll see that, we'll kind of see that interesting mixture, and we'll talk more about that when we get to those first tier teams. Moving along here, and just to kind of backtrack really quick, LSU said he was going to call in tonight. He's having issues with sick kid, but he just sent me a message. He just wanted to say thank you all for what y'all do. This league is awesome, by far the most fun I've had. Can't wait to see how the tournament plays out. Hopefully with an LSU dub, nice little tiger at the end. So hoping for the same thing from LSU. Great season for them, and like I said, I think they're definitely a team that can roll in this tournament. Moving back along, we just talked about the Cal Bears at number 13. We'll move over to number 14 from the WCC. Santa Clara, the fifth best team in the league in terms of record and points. They do get the regular season bid with the North Colorado win. North Colorado did have the WCC bid before the tournament started. But with their win of the tournament, that slides Santa Clara into that number 2 spot because they were second in points. In terms of the entire league, they are 12th in points, and a disappointing second round loss to Barton College. Barton College, who really put up a great tournament and was fighting tooth and nail until the last day. Great job by Kevin Pierre. And I hate to see him lose, but North Colorado is really a juggernaut in the WCC. So Santa Clara with a 28-2 season as a 14 seed. I do have a statement from them because I did reach out. They did reach out earlier. They did say, after a complete collapse of my pitching staff in the WCC semifinals, we somehow did even worse this week. My opponent better be warned. I just got all my negative points out of my system and I'm ready to kick butt. But he did put in quotes, will still probably be a first round exit. So a little bit of skepticism from Santa Clara, but I mean, a great season, 12th in points throughout the season. Nothing to sniff at. We'll hear a little bit more about their opponent, number 19 seed, when we talk about the third tier. Peter, any thoughts on Santa Clara here?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're kind of bolstered by a three-headed pitching staff of Skeens, DeGrom, and Pavetta. But they have a lot of nice compliments to that. Lugo, and then they just got back Luis Gil. So, I mean, and it's funny. I've noticed in a bunch of teams that have made it all have Brendan Donovan on their squad. Not necessarily a guy that you would think of as like this really good, player. But I find that interesting that a bunch of the teams that made it all have Brendan Donovan. So maybe that's the key to success.
You know what, Peter, you and I were doing it wrong. We should have been rostering Brendan Donovan. Chris, do you have Brendan Donovan?
I do not. Maybe I would have won my conference.
I don't know. I don't like how this is boding for you right now if you don't have Brendan Donovan on your squad. But great season by Santa Clara. The Luis Gil one is interesting. I'm sorry, who's the three-headed pitching staff from them?
DeGrom, Pavetta, and Skeens.
Yeah, that's a solid top three right there. I mean, Skeens is going to get you points. DeGrom's been getting you points all season. Pavetta's a little bit of an enigma, but he's been getting points all season as well. Luis Gil should be interesting. I think he's still in a innings management. But we'll see. We'll see if the Yankees start to stretch him out. So definitely interesting for Santa Clara. Good pitching staff there, and we'll see how they fare in the tournament. Moving along to number 15. Number 15 out of the Big Ten, a corn school, Indiana State. Indiana State Sycamores. A great season by Indiana State, 28-2, just like Santa Clara. They did get the regular season bid before the Big Ten tournament started. They finished 14th in points in the entire league, and a tough loss in the finals to Penn State. We'll talk more about Penn State a little bit later. And Indiana State did reach out before, did give me a statement, and he said, "I hope my team bounces back this week." Obviously, after the loss to Penn State, my team took a collective dump today, so a tough Sunday for Indiana State. And he gave props. He said Andy and his damn dad strength. And again, hopefully we'll talk with Andy later. But again, congratulations to Andy. With the birth of his child, it really gave him the strength this week. So a tough week for Indiana State, but a great season, 14th in points. Chris, what are your thoughts on Indiana State in the tournament?
I mean, Indiana State, I'm pretty sure, aside from that collapse versus the buzzsaw that is Rutgers. They were pretty much unscathed all year, right? They lost to that pesky league average, and coming into the matchup with Penn State, we all joked around about Andy's newfound dad strength. But at the end of the day, Indiana State's a really, really good team, right? You're not going to be that conference was very 1-2 heavy, right? There wasn't much past that in terms of danger per se. So Indiana State's no slouch, right? Like their 15 seed doesn't really do that team justice, right? Being first in your conference all year to just come up and lose in the conference championship, nothing to hang your head on negatively there. So best of luck to the Sycamores, whatever that is. Hold on, and I don't want the panel to start this brand new trend of me saying something and saying that I'm hating on Indiana State or that like I don't know where Delaware is. We're gonna leave that in the past. I don't know what a sycamore is. That's just factual. I'm not hating.
Well, that's a little bit more understandable than an entire state. But
Okay.
again, Indiana, props to them. They've had a great season. Big Ten is it's a tree. It is, yes, Chuck. Thank you. It's a tree. But no, I mean, listen, their pitching is fantastic. They have Skubal, they have Wheeler, they have Boyd, Peralta, Pavetta, Webb, Strider.
Jesus.
That's quite a staff, and that's not even everybody. So that's the 15th seed. So that just shows how deep and how strong this tournament is.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, so great season by Indiana State. Peter reached out. Indiana State likes Wood. That's awesome. Thank you, Chuck. Jake, thank you, Chuck, for that comment. We love humor here. Moving on from number 15, Indiana State, we're going to slide back over to this side of the bracket for number 16. The number 16 team, the last of the regular season bids, is from the ACC. East Tennessee State. Are they the Pirates? I can't remember.
Oof, I honestly don't know.
They're a team.
Don't you live in Tennessee, Luke?
I do. I'm not in East Tennessee. I'm still getting acquainted with the state. As you know, I'm a New York guy from the New York Power Hour. East Tennessee State, 24-6. They get the ACC regular season bid. 28th in points. I'll kind of hit on that in a second. And a tough second round loss to Virginia. Obviously, we talked a lot about Virginia over the last couple of weeks. Great couple of weeks in the ACC tournament. So tough draw for East Tennessee State there. It's funny. I was going through all of these kind of second tier teams. We start with FIU second in points, Baylor third in points, LSU fifth, URI sixth, Cal ninth, 12th, 14th, and then we take a jump to East Tennessee State, 28th in points. Peter,
Luke, I hate to interrupt. They are the Buccaneers.
Okay, East Tennessee. You know what? I wasn't far off as a Pirate. So some form of Pirate, a Buccaneer. Peter, what are your thoughts on East Tennessee State going into the tournament here?
I mean, listen, they also, they have a good team. Like all these teams are good, but like some key standouts to me, Abrams, Soto. Obviously, I love Soto. They have the Woo kid over in Seattle. Sonny Gray. These like Gilbert again, Pavetta. Maybe Pavetta is the pitching Brennan Donovan. I've said his name like 4 times so far. So, these are solid teams. Oh, and they have Sanchez too, out in
Gary Sanchez.
Yes, Gary Sanchez out in Philly. Yeah, I will say, right, and I mean no offense to this, right? We've dogged on our mighty commissioners conference, the ACC, all year, and I don't plan on stopping this right now. Out of all of the teams, right, I mentioned before that there wasn't a matchup that you can pinpoint and say that's a bit of an easier matchup. The fact that the ACC as a whole has been such a low scoring team, that's at least of those 8 teams that we just talked about, probably the one that you would like to face the most, right? If you're one of those teams coming in, I think that's the 17 seed that we'll talk about here in a minute. If I'm the 17 seed, I don't know who it is, right? But I'd feel at least better that it's not, a Baylor or an LSU, right? Like it's more of a feasible task to beat the Buccaneers in this case, based on their scoring output. But like we saw in the conference tournaments, it doesn't matter what you did in the regular season, right? Like the 28-2s, the 30-0s, that doesn't matter, right? Like if your team gets hot that week, or like we've seen in the conference tournaments throughout a couple weeks, you can beat anybody. But just to make sure that we don't forget the ACC hate on this show.
Yeah, I mean, went out of your way.
It's been a tough run for the ACC this year, but again, you're in and you have a chance, and anything can happen, and we've seen that in the conference tournament. So East Tennessee State has just as much a chance as anyone else who's playing in these wild card rounds. Chris, you alluded to it. We're going to find out who they're going to be facing in the first round. We'll get our first round matchup right here, 16 versus 17, right up here in the top left corner. Figuring out who's going to play the number 1 seed in the second round, the round of 16. And for the 17th seed, coming out of the American Conference, a team you're very familiar with, Chris, Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, the number 15 team in the league in terms of record and points. They did finish 7th in points. They are getting an ad hoc points bid. And they did have a second round loss to you, Chris. A great season by FAU and JC, a team that's really built for the long haul. And they're going to match up against East Tennessee State. And I hope East Tennessee State is ready for a dogfight here, because FAU is a very good team.
I mean, absolutely. Again, I'll keep on the trend, and I've been very vocal about it. I did mention that I was hopeful to see JC again and the FAU Owls at some point in the Natty. I didn't think it'd be on this side, right? Just because I just played them. They do have a pretty tough task if they were to make it out of this first round. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. FAU's there's no slouch, right? You mentioned they were 5th, 7th scoring all season. And I mean, it's a super well-run team, right? So, anybody facing FAU should prepare themselves for that dogfight. But hey, I mean, first extra American Conference team. We're all about our conferences in this league, and I love to see the boys represented here.
Yeah, Chris, and I think you bring up a good point here. I mean, we'll be keeping count of how many teams out of each conference. So right now it's technically 2 showing on the board for American, but we know it's 3 because obviously every conference gets 1 through 8. So 3 on the board right now for the American Conference. A great job getting that first ad hoc bid for points. And like I said before, a great season by the FAU Owls. So awesome job there. We'll move over to the opposite side of the board here, and we'll talk about the 18 seed here out of the SEC. The senior squad out of Knoxville, University of Tennessee, the 7th best team in the league in terms of record and points. They get an ad hoc bid for record. They did have the best record for the ad hoc record. They finished 8th in points, which is why they are 18th. And they just came off a championship loss in the SEC to Bama. We'll talk a little bit more about Bama. I asked Tennessee if he was going to be able to hop on and talk about his team. I know we've talked at nauseum about his squad and how it's really just built for this season and whether or not he's going to be able to rebound next year. So I wanted to have him on. Said he wasn't going to be able to, but he was able to give a statement. He said, I'm disappointed in my loss in the SEC championship, but excited to see what Bama can do in the Natty. Rest assured, this isn't the end of the line for my seniors, though. I've got King and Green both coming back to reinforce my staff and 100% plan on making a title push despite the loss. So obviously feeling a lot of confidence out of Knoxville. And he should. I mean, it's been a great season. Again, top 10 in points throughout the season and made a lot of moves at the deadline. So we'll see if UT still has some fight in it. Peter, what are your thoughts on UT going into the wild card?
I mean, obviously we like you said, we've talked about them a lot. It's just a bunch of seniors. Obviously they had a rough week, but sometimes seniors, they have those moments. These things happen. But they have a deep team as well. They have a lot of names on there, a lot of good players. So they can definitely be a force. For sure. Yeah, that's my thought as well. And it'll be an interesting matchup against Indiana State. What's up, JC? We just finished talking about your team, and
like I said, hopefully you can hop on. We could talk with you a little bit later about your team.
It's on the Discord. The link.
Yeah, it should be in the CBL chat.
Yep. So, feel free to follow along and call in. Obviously, we love to hear from these teams that are in the tournament and get their outlook, get their thoughts on their chances to win the Natty. So with number 18 is the University of Tennessee. We'll slide down a little bit further. We'll move over to the number 19 seed out of the Big 12, Illinois State. I believe they're the Cardinals, not the Cardinal, because that would be weird if you named the team the Cardinal. Or they might be the Redbirds. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out from Bryce a little bit later. The number 16 team in the league in terms of record and points. They did get an ad hoc bid for points. They were second best in points for the ad hoc. They finished 10th in points for the entire season. And a tough first round loss to West Virginia. I think I said even after their loss, they were in. So there was no doubt that this Illinois team was built to make the tournament. Their loss in the Big 12 was a little bit shocking, but again, it didn't hinder their ability to get into the tournament. So a 24-6 season gets them as a 19 seed. Chris, what are your thoughts on Illinois State here?
Man, this is one of those teams that we talked about, right before the trade deadline, mentioning how quickly they pivoted from being a competitor to selling to reflipping all those pieces and utilizing the different strats like when new owners came in and they would put their offers out. Illinois State was working those phones and they're a really high scoring team, right? We mentioned that Baylor gets foreshadowed a lot by Dallas Baptist being in the same conference. And Illinois State's one of those teams that falls into that same category, right? They're a super well-run team, right? I think at this point, if you're here, you are. But, to reiterate that, and it's not going to be an easy matchup for anybody, right? Like they have the weapons to beat absolutely anybody that they play based on that roster that he's constructed. So not a shock to see him here. Going to have his hands full against the Santa Clara Broncos, but it's going to be a really fun matchup. I think so far out of the ones that we've seen, that's probably the one that interests me the most, just based on his roster construction. But man, hell of a team.
So we do have our first team here that popped in. If you want, I can add them to the chat.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right. Introducing the 17th ranked FAU Owls.
What's going on, y'all? How we doing? It's been a minute since I've been on one of these. How y'all doing?
JC, how we doing, man? How we feeling about the 17 seed? How we feeling about the matchup against East Tennessee State?
Dude, I know so little about East Tennessee State's team, to be totally honest. It's like I don't think I feel terrible. I feel like I'm hoping I win at least a round. You know what I mean? My team at the end of the day, I think if you look at my roster is very much built towards next year. You know what I mean? I have one senior on my entire team, or maybe two, because I think I picked up a senior, Taj Bradley, hoping that he winds up starting at some point. But I have senior Logan Webb. That's it. Like I'm fully set up for next year pretty much in terms of I'll redshirt Logan Webb and just kind of have rolled over a lot of assets and hopefully go for it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Sorry about the dog.
No, you're good. You're good. We love dogs on this show. We love dogs on the show. I hate to look past the first round matchup against East Tennessee State, but I mean it's got to be a little bit daunting to see that in the second round you got the number one seed and you already know who the number one seed is. So
for sure, Dallas Baptist. I mean. That's not an ideal path, obviously, but you win a round, or at least you try to win a round, and then look, I've had the highest score in the league like 2 or 3 times this year in a single week. Like my team is capable of putting up the most points in the entire league. I've done it a couple times this year. And you just hope you have one of those weeks. And if you don't have one of those weeks, you probably lose. And like that's kind of how it goes. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy to be in the tournament, and if it goes well, that's awesome. If it doesn't, life goes on. You know what I mean? I'm rooting on my American brothers at that point because we got like 5 of us in here. So that's the exciting part about that.
No, that's awesome. I love the camaraderie with the conferences. I will say before we let you go, I did have someone reach out today, a pretty prominent owner, possibly a commissioner in the league, that believes that FAU could beat DBU in the second round. That's not me saying that. That is a very prominent owner saying that. So there's a lot of confidence in the FAU.
I appreciate it. My starting pitching has been kind of eviscerated by injury the last couple of weeks. I would like to agree, but I'm not sure I actually have that confidence. But I mean, it takes one good week, and I've had several of those, so maybe we have one of them next week. I got to beat East Tennessee State first, right? Like that's not an easy matchup by any means. That's a good team.
For sure. Got to stay focused on the task at hand. JC, appreciate having you, man. Looking forward to your matchup against East Tennessee State and seeing you roll forward in the tournament.
I'm looking forward to it as well. Y'all boys have a good night.
Thanks, man.
Tell your dog we said hi.
Will do. Peace.
All right. And that was, thank you for coming on. And again, any other owners that want to hop on, feel free. We'll throw you on the top corner there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was awesome. Like I said, I love talking with the guys who are in the tournament and getting their thoughts. Cool. So moving forward, I think we just covered 19. Illinois State. I think they're the Redbirds. I could be wrong, but someone in the chat, feel free to correct me there. I love being corrected by the chat. We'll move over to the number 20 seed over on the left hand side of the bracket. And that will be out of the American Conference. It's Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, a number 20 seed, going to be matched up against number 13, the Cal Golden Bears. Georgia Southern, a 17th best overall team in terms of record in points. 24 and 6 season. They get in on an ad hoc points. They are third in that category. They finished 11th in points in the entire league, and they had a first round loss to the University of Delaware, who we'll talk a little bit more later. So a tough loss in the first round. I think I had them very early on as a lock for a points bid. So they were pretty steady going into the tournament anyway, but still a tough loss. Maybe get the guys a little bit rested and get them ready for the tournament here. I did reach out to them. They did give a statement on their thoughts on the season and the tournament, particularly on the tournament itself. And he said, "I still have money to spend, and that I've been training my whole life for this moment, and that I can't wait to mix it up." So looking forward to what Georgia Southern can put together. And the money, the money's been a very important thing. I know, maybe we'll talk a little bit about Georgia Southern here, but Chris, talk a little bit about, kind of the waiver wire over the last couple of weeks.
I mean, it's been, Ram alluded to it last show, mentioning how, he's done. Welcome to the Conference of Death, Chris. I mean, good Chris, not evil Chris. We, as Chuck likes to correct Luke
Chuck.
there, it is the Redbirds. Man, Fab has been a hot topic, right? And I'm sure it'll come up. I'm sure it won't come up, actually, the rest of the way, right? We're not going to continue to talk about the Fab and the rules that were in place that no one apparently read, but some of them did, right? It's interesting because, Ram's been, for example, he's not here to explain it. He's been doing a lot with like $5, right? Like you can still go out there and get some impact pieces on the low if you're smart, right? And you allocate those bids correctly. But those teams, man, that have a lot of fab, right? If you have like if you're sitting on over 200 fab, right, or like over 150 fab, and you are in this tournament or still alive in the NIT, man, you are in a really big position of power, because a lot of these teams that are no longer in it have started to, they've started to drop some of their seniors, right? They've started to plan for 2026 and beyond, and even if that's a strategy that you didn't foresee and spent all your fab, then you're at the mercy of the injuries, excuse me, and we're at the point now where every waiver wire is important, right? Because you don't, like last week I made a claim to just block Udell and block one of his starts, and it ended up being a good one, right? He went up for like 41 points. So if you've got a lot of fab, though, you're in a really good spot. especially considering this. We're still a month away from finishing this gauntlet of a 128 team, postseason essentially. So again, it's a big benefit if you at this point either traded for Fab, kept some of your Fab, saved it, whatever the case may be. You're in a really good spot, and as Chris, for the owner for the Golden Bears alluded to, playing Georgia Southern is tough, right? Like it is tough. I'll admit that I didn't foresee Udell making it out of there, so his comment is definitely heard here on American Conference years that we've seen this week by week, and Georgia Southern honestly came out of nowhere originally. We didn't have them as ranked as they ended up being, and you've mentioned they were 11th in points all season, so
yeah, yep.
It's a big wall to climb.
For sure, yeah, and hats off. I believe they're the Golden Eagles. Cool. I mean, moving on from Georgia Southern, that gives the American Conference. That's 4 teams now in the tournament. So I mean, awesome job by the American Conference there. Moving along from number 20, we'll move over to number 21 down here at the bottom. Who's going to be facing off against University of Rhode Island? It's going to be a team out of the PAC. And that is going to be UCLA, the number 13 team in the league in terms of record and points, 25-5 on the season, getting an ad hoc record bid. They are second behind Tennessee in that, 13th in points throughout the entire league. And obviously a Pac championship loss to Wash State, who we'll talk about a little bit later on. I think we do have Matt here from UCLA. If we want to throw him on, we could talk with him for a little bit.
Hey boys, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Right on. Yeah, first of all, just want to say thanks to all you guys for hosting these all the time, and everyone else that's done these, and all the commissioners and everything. I was a little hesitant joining this league, but it's been a blast, and I'm so stoked I did. Definitely way deeper than any fantasy I've ever done, so I've been learning a lot from all you guys, and just been a fantastic time. And then I want to shout out to Wazoo for taking me down, doubling my points in the PAC championship. A little embarrassed, but I had a couple of goals going into this year. One was to make the tournament, and one was to hop on one of these calls. So just check 2 box
Awesome.
on one day. And yeah, just looking forward to the national championship tournament here.
Yeah, man. Appreciate having you on here. Kind of want to hear your thoughts on the tournament, your matchup against URI. What's the outlook looking here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough week, but I'm really praying to the statistics gods on the law of averages and hoping that my sub 500 points is just going to be offset with like 1,000 next week. Had a couple of dud starts, probably one of the worst days of the year of anybody, with a big negative 75 or something a couple days ago. So I'm going to try and avoid that, get a healthy Hunter Green back. But Rhode Island has a solid squad top to bottom. We both have Scooble and DeGrom, so we're going to kind of cross out 2 of our best starters, which might, make it a little more interesting. But would be great to take Rhode Island down, but it would definitely be an upset. And I'm just hoping to be within striking range on like Wednesday or Thursday and not be completely out of it halfway through the week.
For sure.
Peter, I think you're muted, by the way, bud.
Thank you. I am. Are there any trades or any even free agent acquisitions with the Fab that you picked up through the season that you think really helped you?
Yeah, good question. I mean, a lot of trades for some pitchers. I picked up DeGrom early, kind of before everyone realized how those top starters were really going to make a difference. Sold a lot of my young guys for it. But picked up Hunter Green at the deadline, so I'm glad he's finally coming back into play here. Otherwise, yeah, I think it was mostly just kind of picking up those extra like second, third tier starters to kind of add up those points throughout the year. Even if you get a couple of negatives, net positive 400 or 500 starts is kind of what got me into this at large bid with the point system. So kind of working that those mid-tier starters and not quite the crazy trades that some like Rhode Island was pulling off 2 or 3 a week. Yeah.
So I'm not looking at how much Fab you have left, but are you looking for anything in the market right now to try and bolster the team before the week?
Yeah, I've got $286, so probably looking for maybe a couple, maybe a reliever or two, maybe just a couple bench guys, depending on injuries here. But I've got two or three solid starting pitchers coming back, so I'm kind of more looking to drop some of my negative starters and get those healthy ones back, even if they can.
Just don't put any claims for Devin Williams in. Not because I want him, but because he will hurt you.
I'm trying to stay positive. Yeah. No, that's a good call though.
Yeah, that's good. That's good feedback there, Chris. I think a lot of the team will be appreciative if you were to win this week. I know I would not be appreciative as the Big East commissioner, but I do appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us. I know you mentioned send some prayers up to the statistics gods. Maybe have a talk with Ram about putting prayers up because that dude put some prayer. I don't know if you've watched the show, but he's put prayers in the past 3 weeks, and he rolled through the Big East. So maybe have a chat with him on some success with prayers. Like I said, appreciate having you on the show, Matt, and wishing you the best of luck in the tournament, man.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for having me, guys. Good luck to everyone else, and go Pack. All right, see you guys.
Peace, man.
Oh, there's a good Chris is here. I didn't but hey, let's just get into it.
We got the good Chris. Look at that.
What up, fellas? Figure I get a seat here. I figure back to back pack. Why not, right?
Yeah, why not? Let's knock it out here. Cal, 13 seed coming in as the second bid for the pack. Let's get right into it. I mean, how do we feel after the loss in the first round of the pack?
Pretty horrible. I was like, after 2 weeks, basically, it feels like a bye. So I'm like, what do I do? So I have guys on my IR right now. I have minor leaguers. I'm stuck with Hayden Birdsong that I'm like, I can't use, but I haven't found anyone better. So just kind of hanging out, Do
you feel like you're well rested, ready to go for the tournament with a couple weeks off?
A little bit. Actually, I'm trying to trade for Brandon Donovan in another league right now, so I figured that might help me.
We know Chris has been watching the show and is obviously getting the trend with Brendan Donovan. I don't know. Do you have Nick Pavetta on your team? I'm not looking at your roster right now.
I don't, but Peter, you did enjoy this. I just looked, and guess who? Georgia Southern, David Peterson, of course. So I got to go against him.
That's the only good Mets pitcher. I'm sorry.
Oh man. So,
right, so
yeah.
I've been messing with you a little bit, Chris. Obviously, I want to hear thoughts on first of all, what are your thoughts on the season? Great year, finishing top in the pack. Where do you attribute that success?
Just all around, roster constriction. I'm just trying to, play the way I usually play. Go for it, all in, and then see what happens the next year. And then I basically from the beginning, I was trying to I figured senior pitchers are going to be the way to go and try to build up my bats. So if you look at my team, most of my bats are younger, but pitchers, relief pitchers, all that are going to be seniors the whole way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what are your thoughts on the tournament? Where do you think you're going to land?
Well, I'm not too happy about this first round matchup. And then if we both somehow figure out a way, then I got to go against my friend UCLA. So it may be up to Washington State again. Or Cougs. Yeah,
now Chris, I mean, you and I have played in a lot of leagues together. I have a ton of respect for you as an owner. And I see it in every league. You're always going for it. And I hope you continue to go for it in this league. And I hope you continue going forward towards the national championship.
Definitely, guys. And I love watching you guys. So keep it up. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man.
All right, guys.
Man, that's confusing. I gotta start using my full name.
What is your full name?
It's Christian. That's just like a mouthful.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give like full name and social security number and like
bank account.
Maybe you could show us your bank account too while you're at it.
Yeah.
No, there's a clear differentiation. Differentiation here. The way he talks versus the way you talk. It's very different. It's the good Chris versus the villain Chris.
Of course.
We love having the both of you on. And obviously thanks to Chris from the Cal Golden Bears for chatting with us there. Do we have anyone else in the lobby waiting to talk? Otherwise, I'll keep going. I think we just
there's one more, but that's his team's nowhere near yet.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, we're gonna keep him waiting if I know who that is. I'm sure he's sweating it out trying to figure out if he made the tournament or not. So we just finished up with number 21, UCLA. Matt calling in. Again, thanks to Matt for calling in and chatting with us there. We'll move from number 21. We'll move over to number 22. On the opposite side, who's going to be facing off against LSU in the SEC? The number 22 team coming out of the Big East, Bryant Bulldogs, the number 9 team in the league in terms of record and points. 27-3 this season. They finished second in the Big East. They get an ad hoc record bid. They are third in that. 16th in points in the entire league, and a second round loss to UConn. Again, we'll hear more about the UConn win out of the Big East. Did get a chance to reach out to Bryant before the show. Obviously, they're not able to call in, but I wanted to give them an opportunity to say, give their thoughts. And this was an official statement out of Bryant University. So he goes, the Bryant University Bulldogs are coming into the 2020 NCAA national tournament with fire in our veins and vengeance in our eyes. We're set to crush the competition and hoist that championship high, Bulldog style, unstoppable and unbreakable. The Big East will be well represented and will not be intimidated by any of the other conferences. We're ready to kick some ass and take some names. Love that from the Big East.
Are you sure you didn't write that last sentence?
I did not write any of this myself. This was all coming from Bryant. I would not do that on live stream. At least I wouldn't do that for someone I don't know as personally as well as Peter, Chris, or Ram. So thank you for Bryant for giving that statement. Looking forward to their how they'll perform in the tournament. Peter, what are your thoughts on the Bryant Bulldogs going into the tournament?
Yeah, they're a good team, and another guy that has Wu as pretty much their front line starter. But let me tell you, that is a tough matchup with LSU. That is definitely going to be a fun one to look forward to. I'm very excited to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, and again, it's pretty crazy that the 9th overall team and the 10th overall team are facing off in the first round, right? Like that, and that again, we'll talk more about those tier 1 teams, the teams that won their conference championship, but they really pushed a lot of these high-ranking teams out to the wild card. So it definitely makes for an interesting first round. And we'll see them. I mean, we'll see them. We'll see the Bulldogs battle it out against the Tigers in the first round right there. So finishing up there with number 22, Bryant. Again, a 27-3 season. We'll move up to the 23rd seed, and another team out of the Big East. No surprise here. Another Bulldog, the Butler Bulldogs, and Butler Bulldogs finishing 14th overall in the league, 25-5 record, ad hoc record bid. They'll be the 4th and final team in for an ad hoc record bid. 17th in points in the entire league, and a first round loss to UConn. So the number 22 and number 23 seeds both getting knocked out by UConn in the Big East tournament. I'm sure, again, we'll hear about that later and for years to come. So a little bit of break for Butler. Hopefully they're refreshed and ready to go for the tournament. Chris, what are your thoughts on Butler going into the tournament?
Man, it's another one of those teams that early in the year we could easily see, winning the Big East and having that number 1 record, right? When Rhode Island was kind of riding the good luck train earlier in the year and was getting a little bit disrespected, Butler was turning right along and it looked like it was Butler's conference to lose. So, to have them essentially almost miss the tournament, right, shows how deep this tournament really is, right? And you harped on it a little bit about how, some of these upsets becoming their conference champions really pushed these really, really, really good teams deeper into the bracket. So, Butler is no slouch. I know Baylor's probably looking at it from the perspective of seeding wise, but and they're very smart, right? They know that Butler's good, but Butler is by no means a 23 seed, right? You mentioned they were 17th in scoring, so gonna be a battle.
Yeah, it should definitely be interesting against Baylor. We'll see how it plays out. Again, the 12 overall against 14th overall there, and that does get the Big East up to 4 teams, matching the American Conference there. So great job by the Big East getting 4 teams into the big dance. Moving right along, we'll finish up. We just touched on number 23, and we'll get to the last team in. And there was a little bit of debate this afternoon about who the last team in was. And it was a bit of a discussion this afternoon, but we were able to get it figured out. Coming in at number 24 from the American Conference, the 5th team from the American Conference to get in, it's the Tulane Green Wave, the 18 overall team in the league. In terms of record and points, they finished with a 24-6 record. They come in the ad hoc points. They're the last team in, 18th in points in the entire league. And much like Butler, they do have a big break in their games, as they had a first round loss to FAU. So hopefully they're well rested. Obviously they are very excited. Pierce, if you want to call in, absolutely, feel free to call in and talk with the guys here. Love to hear your thoughts. But before we get Pierce in, Chris, what are your thoughts on Tulane?
Man, out of 128 teams, 24 playoff teams, I honestly thought there was a cold chance in hell that I would get an American Conference team in the first round. But I mean, I'm a team guy, right? And in hindsight, it guarantees us the Sweet 16 bid, right? One of us is going to have to get through. But Tulane's one of those scary teams, right? We talked about in the pre-show before the conference tournament started how they could like they played FAU and lost in a tight one. But we thought Tulane could very well easily win the American Conference. So for that to be my reward for being the 9th seed is brutal. But I mean, I'm excited. It's a team that I haven't played in a really long time. I think I played Tulane really early in the week, really early in the year, and I did prevail. But the teams look entirely different now. So I'm glad that we were able to claim a 5th team in. Sorry to our fearless leader in Steven and Columbia. They'll have to wait out and hopefully make it next year. But I mean, it's gonna be fun, man. It's a guy. It's an owner that I talked to a decent amount, and he's been killing it with the content and the American side. He was for the larger part of the second half of the season, pretty much daily updates on everything. But man, it's gonna be a fun one with Pierce, and I'm looking forward to it.
No, that's awesome from Pierce too. Looking forward to the matchup. Chris, I mean, just kind of final thoughts here. Chris, what are your thoughts on the matchup against Tulane? What makes you nervous? What makes you feel good?
I mean, it definitely makes me nervous in the sense that, like, I know the guys in our conference and how their point output is pretty huge, right? We just saw University of Delaware, put up over 1,000 points, probably finishing 2nd or 3rd most as the 7th seed. And Tulane's a very well-earned 4 seed in our conference. And for the longest time, right, I think until the last week of the season, they were almost the 2 seed. So it's not a favorable matchup, right? You would expect as a 9 seed to have a bit of an easier team to play, but top 18 in the country in scoring. It's going to be a battle, and they have a Kyle Schwarber that I am terrified to face. So I'll be hate watching the Phillies with Peter all week, making sure that Kyle Schwarber strikes out every at bat. But it's probably not going to happen.
That's okay. They have Frankie Montas to balance it out.
No, that's awesome. And Chris, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on your matchup against Tulane for sure. And Chris, you alluded to it as well. We talked a lot about bubble teams this past week. Columbia being one of them. Binghamton University being the second, and the third bubble team not to make it in was Long Beach State, and they just missed it. Peter, what as a bubble team, I mean, what are your thoughts there? I mean, what do you do in the off season? I mean, you were so close to making it. Do you make adjustments, or do you just keep rolling with it?
I mean, listen, I think you definitely try to make some adjustments. Some of the blueprint is definitely, put out there of what gets you there. It seems like pitching is the base for that. So, you're close. You're closer than, a team like me, who've finished in the low 80s, I think. So, or high 80s, closer to 90. So, I don't think it sucks, obviously, but it shouldn't be too discouraging. You're maybe a trade or two away.
For sure. Cool. Well, that covers 9 through 24. We got some big matchups here. Any Chris, anything from you on any upsets you're seeing here?
Man, it's hard to call them upsets right at this point in the season because everyone here that's just remaining is so good. I think, if they're able to bounce back, I think UCLA is interesting, right? We know they're a really good team, and they're playing a Rhode Island team that didn't really play that well this week, right? A lot of negatives in their pitching. I think they failed to hit 800 points, probably for the first time in a really long time. So that's one to look at. I think the Georgia Southern Cal, like not being a homer, but the Georgia Southern Cal matchup is a potential upset, on paper, right, without looking at rosters and starts. The Eagles are really good. Not to reverse, and I'm doing this to reverse strength. I think Tulane also has a really good chance to make it out, right? Our matchup was really close when we played last time, and there's no reason, right? If given the starts, again, I'm not entirely sure what the starts look like for either team. I think those to me are the more resounding ones. And then on the other side, probably Bryant. Bryant was one of the favorites that we had to win the Big East tournament. They get an LSU that's a little bit banged up, but hopeful for some vengeance here. So, man, I think out of all of them, that's probably the one that I'm excited about the most, aside from my own, is watching those two go head to head.
Oops. Well, did a little bit of a reveal there.
Surprise.
Didn't want to give too much away, but if you caught that little flicker there, we've covered 9 through 24. I think we've gotten some really great content. Thank you to the guys who've called in and talk with us. Love to hear other owners and their thoughts on the NCAA tournament and the season. But we're going to move right along here. We're going to cover the 1 through 8, which are your conference tournament champs. We're going to work backwards here. We're going to start with number 8. Number 8 is probably the biggest surprise by far in any of the tournaments, and that would be Alabama. The University of Alabama Roll Tide. Coming in at the 8th seed, winning the SEC tournament, the 53rd overall team, finishing the season 17-13. We'll slide back over here to the SEC tournament and just kind of give you guys a background here. Alabama beating Kentucky in the first round, then Alabama beating Vanderbilt in the second round, who had upset LSU in the first round, and then Bama beating Tennessee this week. I don't have the scores up for this yet because nothing has technically become official yet, or by the time our stream had started, nothing had become official yet. So I don't have any scores here. But Bama rolling over Tennessee. I got to say, I think last week we all had Tennessee beating Alabama. I don't think anyone had Bama beating Tennessee. Peter, what are your thoughts on Bama beating Knoxville this week?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you're right. Nobody had Alabama. We all had Tennessee. It was definitely shocking. I'm not gonna lie. It's cool though to see a team that was ranked outside the top 25 make a run, and it just goes to show how even if you think that you're out of it, you might not be. They're not the only Cinderella run yet in this tournament. That we'll talk about them later. But so don't give up too early. Don't trade off assets just because you think you might be out of it, because you never know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Bama's a huge surprise. I reached out to the Bama owner, Jim this afternoon. Obviously, he's not able to hop on, but gave me a quick statement today. He said he's really enjoying this league, best ran league I've been associated with. It's super competitive and should be a great finish to the end. So thanks for Bama for the statement. Obviously, love having you in the league. Love having all the guys in the league. I mean, it's really been a wonderful year. And hats off to Ash for putting this together. I know we've spoken ad nauseum about how this has just been such a crazy idea, but the way this league's come together and been able to form such a great camaraderie and been as organized as it is with 128 teams is really awesome. So, and commissioners stepping up, even owner, just non-commissioner owners stepping up as well and helping out. It's been really great. Peter, you alluded to it. We have not only one team that's outside of really the top 24, top 25, making it into the big dance, and that's going to be the number 7 seed here. Out of the pack, Washington State, a number 44 overall team, making it into the big dance, into the national tournament. Just a magical run in the pack tournament. Obviously, knocking out the Cal Golden Bears in the first round, which was a huge shock, and then just continuing to roll. We'll slide back over to the pack tournament here and talk about their run a little bit. Obviously, beating Cal. Then the Apple Cup, beating Washington, and then beating UCLA this week. Matt, who we had on earlier, alluded to that as well. So big wins from Washington State, the only 8 seed in the tournament to win their conference tournament, finishing the season 19-11 and making it to the big dance as a number 7 seed. Chris, what are your thoughts on Washington State here?
Man, I mean, you mentioned Alabama being the most improbable one, probably based on standings. But I think Washington State has claim to that title, at least in my opinion, right? Based on who they had to beat to get here, having to beat Cal, then they get a 4 seed Washington and the 2 seed UCLA, right? They didn't get the benefit of the Vanderbilt, not taking away anything from Bama, right? That's ridiculous, right? If I was ranked 53rd in the country in terms of standings, I would consider myself to have absolutely no shot. So shout out to Alabama, but man, Washington State, this was tough, man. I think being the only 8 seed again, how Peter mentioned when speaking about Bama, it just proves that you just got to get into the conference tourney. You get in, you get hot for a couple weeks, and look. Now he has a bye week. He's automatically in the Sweet 16, and for those that didn't know, that guarantees you, correct me if I'm wrong, $50, right, on top of your conference championship winnings. So, if you're next season, you're one of those fringe teams that you don't really know if you're going to be able to compete with the big teams in the conference tournament, just try to get in, right? If you're in that 8 through 10, 11 spot, just try to get in, right? At the end of the day, you don't know what may happen, and we see here what can happen, and that's Washington State to just put an absolute, gem of a run to get to that 7 seed, and we'll see if they can keep it going. I heard from another one of the upsets talk about how they wish they didn't get a bye, right? Because they want the momentum to continue. They don't want to take that week off. But I mean, we'll see what Washington State can do.
Yeah, no, and I'll kind of backtrack a second. I mean, the reason why I said Bama was probably the most improbable is because we all had University of Tennessee beating
absolutely
Bama this week. And as I recall last week, and it was a very memorable moment for the show, I believe there were a bunch of members that said that they loved Cougars. And that's why I had Bama as the most improbable. I think there were a lot of people that pick Cougars this week, and they would be correct if they picked them over Bruins. So big win for Washington State. Hats off to them, and looking forward to what they can do in the round of 16. Moving back to the NCAA tournament, we'll talk about the number 6 seed, another team getting a bye, and that's going to be out of the ACC, the Clemson Tigers, the number 32 overall team. So another team falling out of the top 25. We talked about East Tennessee State. I think East Tennessee State was definitely the best team in the ACC, taking the loss. I believe I said in the second round for the ACC tournament, opened it up for Clemson to win it all, and they beat Virginia this past week. We'll slide back over to the ACC tournament. They beat Virginia this week. The first round they took care of business and took care of Miami. They beat a very tough Duke team, a Duke team that, again, we've all given flowers to how they turned around and could have really been a juggernaut in the tournament if they made it. But Clemson stopped their momentum and continued moving forward, and then took care of another team that had a ton of momentum in Virginia as well. So, Peter, what are your thoughts on Clemson and their chances for the tournament?
Well, let me tell you, any team that has David Peterson, I think you have a real nice shot there. I'm looking at some of their pitchers. They have Peterson, they have Luzardo. There's some nice pieces there. Hitting wise, they have everyone's favorite Italian, Vinny Pasquantino. I think this, obviously them beating Virginia, good for them. And we'll see what they can do from here on out.
Yeah, like I said, great win for Clemson this week. Taking out Virginia, tough loss for Mark there and the Cavaliers. I think we were split last week on Clemson and Virginia, but good win by Clemson. We'll see what they can put together. We'll slide back over to the tournament and see. They will take on the winners of Bryant and LSU, whereas Washington State will take on the winner of Butler and Baylor. So something to look forward to as well in the round of 16 as these matchups start to take shape. Moving right along from 6, we'll move over to number 5. Number 5, coming out of the American Conference, it's going to be the University of Delaware, the Blue Hens, number 28 overall team. We'll talk through a little bit of their ride through the American Conference tournament, beating Georgia Southern, big upset there. A 22-8 team beating a 24-6 team, beating Columbia, again another great team. Columbia bubble team going in, and then Delaware beating Chris from FIU. I think Delaware was the highest scoring team this week, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think Penn State ended up finally overtaking them, but still put up over 1,000 points. I think they finished second or third, but still up there. Yeah.
No, definitely, nothing to sniff at there. So great job by the University of Delaware. I was trying to convince the University of Delaware to hop on the show. He said he was a little busy tonight, but he did go ahead and give an official statement from the University of Delaware. And Peter, if you wanna pop that up, and I'll read through it because it is absolutely glorious. So I'll read along, and hopefully I don't botch this too much, and hopefully I give enough emotion for University of Delaware, because this really got me fired up. And I read this right before the show, and it really gave me my motivation for the show tonight. So Udell writes, "Today is a great day in the history of domesticated fowl and the state of Delaware. Many underestimated the Blue Hens in the outset of this tournament. A 7 seed? They asked. Chickens, they claimed. Losers, they assumed. Well, look what happened next. First, we defeated number 11 Georgia Southern. Those chickens stood firm and massacred the Eagles. Then we beat number 19 Columbia. The Hens snuck by the Lions before slitting their throats. Then we took down the Big Cat, Number 5, FIU. How an international Panther was allowed in the American Conference is beyond us. We will petition for them to be relegated to the ACC this offseason. Nonetheless, the Fighting Blue Cocks destroyed those kittens. Delaware, the first state in the union, is the first champion of the American Conference. You can't write a CBL story better than that. If you weren't sure where to find Delaware at the beginning of the tournament, you sure as hell do now. At the top of the American Conference, where it means the most. Hell yeah. Great job by the University of Delaware, the Blue Hens. Chris, what are your thoughts on the official statement?
I can't complain about. There's nothing for me to complain about there. That's elite, man. He showcased a little bit of that troll job earlier in the week, as we see with all the AI pictures and whatnot. But I mean, hats off to him. We've talked about this conference ad nauseum and how, we're full of ourselves and whatnot, but that's what this conference does, right? The only 7 seed to be ranked and ended up being a champ. So, kudos to them. It was a great statement. The whole ACC thing was probably the worst thing you could have said to me. I don't see how that's even relevant to this conference championship, right? But man, kudos to them. Unfortunately for the American Conference, that does mean all 5 teams share the same side of the bracket, so we cannot have an All-American, championship in this natty. But I mean, it's gonna be a dogfight. I mean, it gives us a good chance, right, that we're gonna play each other, hopefully, right, a little bit later on. It's just not accurate. We're not Cats. We're Panthers. But and to be sure, right, if we're going to continue to make these AI images, the Panthers and Florida are not, Black Panthers. They're the Florida Panthers. But I digress.
Like the hockey team?
Just like the hockey team, the exact same Panther.
Well,
Okay.
That's interesting that you get that much specification about how the Panthers should look when you didn't even know where Delaware was on a map. Like now,
How is that? Why do you care so much about the state of Delaware or the city?
Because they're the first. They are the first state of the union, as that meant state.
What? Listen, you're not going to get me to root against the Blue Hens, right? I want an American Conference champion, so I'm going to root for the Blue Hens unless I get to face them. When would I face them if we were to make it in the semis? Then, fuck Delaware.
Another man that knows where Delaware is on a map. There we go.
Shocking. You're from Delaware and you know where Delaware is.
It sounds like there's a lot going on in Delaware that, Chris, you're missing out on.
Apparently.
What we're not missing out is some really great teams in this NCAA tournament. We'll keep moving forward. Before we do so, again, I appreciate you, Del, putting that statement out. I mean, it was absolutely fire. Thank you for that. And like I said, it really got me motivated for the show, getting that at like 9:15. So moving right along from number 5. Go ahead.
Before we head on, Illinois State Redbirds is here.
Yeah, let's get Bryce in here.
How's it going, y'all?
Yo.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Ready to play a game this week. It's been a long 2 weeks where I haven't had anything going on after an early exit in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, so talk about that a little bit. I mean, how are you feeling after the loss? Are you feeling refreshed? Are you feeling a little down after the first round loss in the Big 12?
I was down at least for a couple of days, but I'm back now. Aaron Judge came off the IL. That was big for the team, and had Blake Snell now available for the first time all year. So I'm kind of getting healthy at the right time. I do have a number of starters I was throwing out there, like Walker Buehler, Yu Darvish, Colton Gordon, where had no real faith in them every time I was throwing them out there. But wanted to give them a couple, waited till the playoffs to see what I want to do with them. At this point, I'm going to probably try to be a lot smarter with some of my starts there and potentially even benching guys. Walker Buehler facing Houston this week doesn't seem like a good idea to throw out there. So really just rely on my horses that got me here, and hopefully that they all come through here.
No, for sure. What are the thoughts? What are the thoughts on Santa Clara Broncos this week?
Yeah, so Santa Clara's had a pretty strong year. It looks like 2 losses, but checked out their team. It looks like they got just as much guys in the IL as they do in the major league roster, but I think they're getting some depth for next year. But yeah, they got Paul Skeens, so they got some studs, but really it's all just going to come down to how my team plays out, and if my pitchers play the way they're supposed to and give me a consistent 20, 30 points, then should be in good shape. But you never know if Santa Clara goes off and has one of those weeks, nothing really I can do. But really the whole playoffs in general is just going to come down to getting consistent starts and avoiding those big negative 30, 40 outings.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, hosting the show, I gotta ask the hard question. Are you regretting trading Scooble a couple weeks ago?
I'm not at this point because I was able to flip it right away for Kirby and Fromber and someone else too. But if I wasn't able to do that, yeah, I would. My plan all along, though, was not to just get those prospects and then hold them. It was to be able to get a stronger roster. And I'm kind of like FAU. I'm more focused on the post-DBU era of the Big 12, so next year or 2 years from now. And that's why getting more starters on junior contracts and sophomore contracts is what my focus was. So just kind of taking my one pretty much untouchable piece like Scooble, but breaking it down into two pretty top players as well was better for the long-term approach. And whatever I can do this year, it'd be great to make a run here. But if not, I'm pretty confident in my squad moving forward because I'm not graduating a ton of impact seniors.
Yeah. So what's the outlook for the tournament, and then beyond that?
Yeah, I mean for the tournament, I think I've shown that if my team gets hot, it can compete with anyone. There was a stretch there in the middle of the season where I was putting up the highest score or the top 5 for a couple weeks in a row. So I've outscored DBU a couple weeks this season as well. So if it all starts clicking together and my starts line up correctly, I mean, I think that I can have the firepower to make a deep run here. But if not, really just focus in on the offseason, getting probably guys more focused that are sophomores now will be juniors. If not, I still have a good core of juniors to really go for it next year and what should be an easier path to winning the Big 12 than when had to compete with DBU this year, who no one could beat so far, and hopefully it changes in the finals here.
For sure. Yeah, no, looking forward to how Illinois State, the Redbirds, perform throughout the tournament. Bryce, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us, man.
Yeah, no, best of luck to all of you there in the tournament as well, and hope it's a good one. It's been a great year, and I'm sure we've all had a lot of fun, and I appreciate all of you for making these shows and tuning in and giving us some free content. So
cool. Well, thanks, Bryce, for calling in, man.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bryce coming in makes me believe that I'm gonna have to sit Michaelis tomorrow because that minus 42 last week stung. But he brings up a good point, right? This is now do or die for all the teams that are non-bye teams. So that might be a decision. I mean, he is playing Colorado though, so I may just throw him out there. It's a Monday. What's the worst thing that can happen?
It could always be worse.
You could set your whole team up for failure.
Absolutely.
The whole vibe could be off. Chemistry.
Hey, I won a week with a minus 73 from Tanner Houck on a Monday. So.
All right. So there's hope. There's hope for you. I always believe in you, Chris. I believe in you in fantasy sports. I do not believe in you in geography. But good thing we're not being tested on geography here. We're getting tested on our ability to forecast sports here. Thanks again for Bryce. Thanks again to everyone who's called in. I think we've gotten some really great content from other owners here. And we're here. We're getting close to the end. We got the top 4 teams left. And the 4th team is someone whom we're very familiar with. Someone who we're going to hear from for years to come about their success in their conference tournament. If you're a regular watcher of the show, regular viewer, you'll already know who I'm talking about here. It's from the Big East. It's the UConn Huskies, the number 27 team overall, 22-8 throughout the season. A team who has prayed and asked for the prayers of other owners week after week, and the fantasy gods have heard his prayers. We'll go over to the Big East tournament here and kind of go through how UConn got there, beating Butler in the first round, an upset of a six seed over a 3 seed. In the second round, beating Bryant, beating the 2 seed there, and then beating the number 1 seed URI in the Big East tournament. So a 3-2-1 sweep by UConn here. A 6 seed winning the Big East tournament. Chris, I'm going to skip you and go right to Peter. Peter, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on? Because I already know what your thoughts are on it. Peter, what are your thoughts? Peter, what are your thoughts on?
Well, I will say, going through beating 3-2-1 in your conference is very impressive. But quite honestly, I don't want to give too much credit to Ram. I'm worried about him. Too much helium, he's going to pop. So just he had an impressive conference tournament run. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, no, the UConn squad looks good. I think Chris alluded to it before. I think Ram did a really good job managing the waiver wire out there, picking up players with. What did he say? I think he had $2 in fab,
something like that after the last run, probably.
So it seems like he's used up a lot, and hopefully there's stuff left in the tank. For the national tournament. So great job by Ram getting in and getting the bye in the first round there. All right, moving right along, we got the 4 seed. We're gonna slide over to the 3 seed. 3 seed right here, coming out of the Big Ten, Big Corn School. It's going to be the Penn State Nittany Lions. 11 overall team, 26-4 season. Great season by Andy. Falling up a little bit short from Indiana State for the regular season, but obviously got their revenge in the Big Ten championship. So rolling through that tournament there, beating number 7 Notre Dame, followed up by a win against Wisconsin and then another win against Indiana State. And I know we talked about it a lot last week. This tournament definitely felt like it was going to be Indiana State, Penn State regardless. And in this case, it was Penn State winning. Peter, what are your thoughts on Penn State, your home conference, getting the win here?
Yeah, like we said, no surprise that they're the top 2 in the conference. Their pitching is fantastic. It really goes up there with the rest of the league. And all props to them. That dad power really came through. I do apologize. I feel like I sandbagged him when I traded him Lindor for Luzardo, because since then Lindor hasn't done a thing. So considering that if someone from your conference wins it, I am sorry. If someone from your conference wins, the whole conference buy-in's free next year. So I'm obviously rooting for the 2 Big Ten schools here. So, that pitching, I think it's unmatched. Like it's great. It's just deep. Like there's studs everywhere.
Yeah, and Chris, Peter alluded to it. Is there really dad power when it comes to fantasy sports?
As a father of 2, right, and I know Penn State's the father of 2 as well. Just recently with the newborn. I gotta say, it gives you a lot of. I think what it does is it gives you a lot of time on your phone, right? Because you have the baby in one hand and they're sleeping a lot, but like you're also not sleeping because they wake up, and like you're just constantly on your phone, trying to make trades and whatnot, doing research. So it gives you an avenue that you kind of would just fill by watching Netflix or going out, right, touching grass if you didn't have kids, so or at least small children. I'm sure I'll progressively become a worse fantasy player as my kids grow older, and they need me less. But now that they need me every night, right? Like I hop onto the show right after I put them to sleep. The phone's in my hand. I'm always available. If you need me and I don't answer, I'm probably dead.
I think Peter and I can definitely attest to that. You are always very active in our chat, and I think half the league can also attest to how active you are with the number of trades that you made. But Chris, we are always appreciative for the work that you do for this league and this podcast as well. to give you your flowers there. I know I give you a lot of crap. Moving right along, I'll stop with all the gratitude and move back.
That hurt to come out. Thank you,
though. Just to kind of backtrack a little bit, sorry, before we get into 2 and 1, Penn State is primed to face Illinois State or Santa Clara. So either the Redbirds or the Broncos in the round of 16. UConn primed to face either Georgia Southern Eagles or the Cal Golden Bears, and then Delaware going up against either UCLA or the Rhode Island Rams. So some interesting matchups for the second round. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get into that, we'll unveil the last 2 teams. I know it's going to be a huge surprise for them that they made it to the tournament. We've made them hold on this long. I hope they've been sweating it out, trying to figure out if they made the tournament or not. Number 2 coming in from the WCC, no surprise coming, Northern Colorado, the 4th team overall in terms of record and points, a 28-2 season, coming off the WCC championship today. Great win for the I'm assuming they're the Bears, Northern Colorado Bears. I'm not too familiar with them. A lot of Bears and Bulldogs going on in the conference, in the national championship here, or national tournament here. Yeah, I mean, Northern Colorado, great season. We'll kind of go through their run through the WCC, taking out Wayne State, taking care of business there. But wow, I mean, I remember being on that Sunday Night Baseball show a couple weeks ago, and we had eyes on that matchup. Wayne State almost pulled out an 8-1. Northern Colorado showing a little bit of fire at the end. I think it was Matt Chapman that helped them out in Sunday Night Baseball. So yeah, I think Matt Chapman is definitely the captain of the Northern Colorado Bears right now. Cannot confirm that, but maybe we'll hear a little bit more from Northern Colorado about that. Northern Colorado beating Cal State Fullerton, the Tony Angels, another close matchup there, and then knocking out Barton College, K. Pierre, who in his own right had a great run during the WCC, but just fell up short. So win for Northern Colorado, getting all those, getting another bubble team in there. So Chris, what are your thoughts on Northern Colorado in their quest to win the national championship?
Man, that's one of those teams that is just as intimidating as they come, right? You mentioned the 28-2 record, top 10 team in points. They had a pesky Santa Clara Broncos behind them all year, right? Teetering on who's going to take that 1 seed into the conference tournament. Like you said, man, I mean, this is a really, really talented squad. Doesn't matter who wins between Tennessee and Indiana State. They have their hands full, right? He just lines up with the best of them here at the top. They're a true 2 seed. And I mean, again, flowers to Barton College, right? Because they lost by less than 100 points, right? And I'm sure if you told, Kevin, before the tournament even started, that you'd be in that point where Sunday you still have a chance, he'd call you a liar. So shout out to Barton College. And I believe those are Bulldogs as well, right?
I think so. I think so.
A bear and a Bulldog, great. But no, I mean, shout out to Northern Colorado. They grinded all year. They got to this point and they earned that 2 seed.
Yeah, no, great season by Northern Colorado. Really interesting really interested to see what they're going to do. And they kind of get an interesting draw there of Tennessee and Indiana State. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Luke, before we go on to the number 1 seed,
sure.
We have Andy from Penn State.
Yeah, let's get Andy in here.
How's it going, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, thanks for being here. And I think we gave you congratulations last week, but we'll give you congratulations again this week. Congratulations on the newborn. Did the dad strength really take effect this week? Did you feel it? Did you feel it flowing through Penn State this week?
Yeah, man. I tell you what, he was born Sunday night, and I think Tuesday I put up like 435 points.
Yeah,
in a day, and I mean, like I'm just like right away. It's just like, okay, things are different now. Okay, I got two of them. I'm scoring double points now, and things just got real. So yeah, I mean, like Chris said, more time on the phone, more time looking through waivers, more time being meticulous about your lineups, and yeah, that strength is really paying off there.
No, that's awesome. First round bye. Are you looking forward to the bye in the first round, or would you have actually preferred to have a matchup?
Yeah, I think I would rather have the bye. So I was looking, and out of the 16 teams that played in the championship round, my team scored the most points this week, and I have no confidence that that's going to happen 2 weeks in a row. So yeah, take a break. Maybe the guys will come back down to earth a little bit, and we'll be ready to go for either Santa Clara or Illinois State in 2 weeks. But it'll be nice just to have that break, just to sit back and enjoy the league a little bit and not stress about everything each night when I watch baseball. So it'll be good. It'll be nice to have that break for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but have you looked into the Redbirds and the Broncos yet to see how you match up against them?
Yeah, I was just looking at Illinois State, and I think, if he were to move on, our matchup would be very interesting. I'm looking at his lineup, and I see Wilson Contreras. We both have Wilson Contreras. Ketel Marte. We both have Ketel Marte. Mookie Betts. We both have Mookie Betts. Francisco Lindor. We both have Francisco Lindor. And I mean, like, that's like, core players right there that are going to just balance each other out. So if I were to match up with Illinois State, like, pitching is going to win that week, because your lineup is not going to be able to pull away when four of your best players are the same players. And so I thought that was really interesting. And then Santa Clara, it's just a phenomenal roster. I mean, his pitching depth is like legit. He went 28-2. He's like the number 8 ranked team. So from my perspective, I think I'm an Illinois State fan this week. No disrespect to him, but if I were to choose an opponent, that's the opponent I think I'd rather play in this scenario.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned the sharing of those offensive players, because it was similar to what happened to me and Udell this week, right? We said earlier in the matchup it was going to be a battle of the others, because we shared Vlad, we shared Jacob Marcy, who for no reason went for like 56 points this week, and it was funny because it felt like I couldn't keep up because my pitching kept throwing out negatives, and my best players on offense that week were also on his squad. So it's a double-edged sword. You take that because that way they can't hurt you, but it's hard to make up points when you start bleeding points on the pitching side. Those Ketel Marte home runs are going to sting.
Yeah. Well, that's how I've tried to build my team all year long, is to get depth of pitching with guys that I feel confident are not going to blow up on me. Like, I have 10 guys that are averaging 25 points a game. So I feel really good about that. So if I go into a matchup with a guy who has the same 4 hitters that are the best hitters on my team, or the same 4 on his team, to go into a matchup where I am forced then to rely on Garrett Crochet and Logan Webb and Logan Gilbert and Chris Sanchez, I feel really good about that, taking out the offensive equation into the matchup.
Yeah, for sure. So, Andy, let's talk a little bit about your outlook on the tournament, or even beyond the tournament for next season. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so let me just say, the common thing right now is just this league is awesome. I only started playing fantasy baseball about 3 years ago, and this is the first time that I've kind of branched out into something that wasn't just my home league. So to play in a league that is this large and this unique with the roster construction, like, I've learned a lot of names and players and strategy in this league. And coming into the year, I never would have thought to have won my conference and be the 3 seed and get a first round bye and do all that. So I'm just really grateful for the opportunity that I got to be in this league, and I'm grateful for the people that we've met. Chris and I, we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot throughout this league, and getting to know Peter and some other guys. So I'm just really grateful and thankful to be here, and looking forward with my team. Like I think I have a solid blend of sophomore, juniors, and I have a few seniors that won't be back, but I'm gonna redshirt Brian Wu. I'm gonna have Logan Gilbert coming back, Logan Webb coming back, Garrett Crochet coming back, Chris Sanchez coming back. So next year, I'm hopeful. And as far as this tournament, I think, looking at the two sides, I'm pretty happy to be on the right side here to avoid DBU for as long as I possibly can. I'm hoping that that's a championship matchup there. So I'm glad I don't have to play him any sooner than at all possible. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to the next month. This is going to be the most locked in I've ever been playing fantasy baseball. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, your pitching depth, I think, is one of the best in the league. But from one Big Ten guy to another, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for Indiana State. Get us that free buy-in next year, man.
Yeah, that's the plan. If it's not me, shout out to Indiana State. My opponent this week, Varno, the top guy in our conference all year long, and he really got unlucky, I think, this week with Nick Dodolo only pitched an inning for him in one game, and then some of his guys just kind of blew up on him. And it would have taken a lot to beat me. My guys really showed out this week, but shout out to Varno, to Indiana State. He's not an easy opponent to beat. I think he has potential to win the whole thing too. And, if not me, if that were to happen, we're on a collision course to play each other. We're on the same side of the bracket. So, I'm with you, Peter. If it's not me, then let's go Varno. Let's get that free entry for next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I don't know, Andy, if you watched earlier, but Varno did leave a comment or official comment to me, gave you your props, and obviously attributed your win to the dad strength. So it sounds like there's a mutual respect there. Yep. I know I've said it a number of times. I love the camaraderie in the conferences, and it sounds like you and Varno have that as well. Yeah.
Nothing but respect for him. Have to beat him, but nothing but respect for him. He's a great owner. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, Andy, I appreciate you calling in and chatting with us. Looking forward to what you're going to do in the tournament, and wishing you the best. Not only in the tournament, but in life as well with the newborn.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and let's go. I'm excited for the tournament.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Hey, before we get into number one, I want to keep him sweating a little bit because I'm sure he's sitting at home wondering whether or not he's made the tournament. Can you bring up that comment from Ram at 10:10? At 10:10 p.m.
Oh, we're on different times.
Are we? Oh shoot, that's right. I'm still on Central Standard Time. 11:10. Just look at that picture from Ram. Like he's such a handsome guy. Like that's such a great Google account photo. Like what a handsome dude. Like what a lucky guy. And winning his conference tournament. So I'll give praises again to Ram, and hopefully he can call in. I don't know. I think we'll probably do another 10 minutes because we're getting close to the 2-hour mark here. I think we've made this guy wait long enough to find out whether or not he's going to make the tournament. And here it is, the number 1 seed. I don't think it's any surprise to anyone in the league, anyone in this podcast, anyone on earth right now who follows this crazy ass league. The number 1 seed from the Big 12 is Dallas Baptist Patriots, DBU. Jeremy's team, phenomenal season, 30-0. I alluded to it before, first in points, and not just first in points by 4,000 points. So he has run the gauntlet with the league. We have him here right now. He's been waiting all this time to chat with us. Dr. DBU, how are we doing? How are we doing today?
Well, evening, fellas. I'm doing quite well. Thanks for having me on the show again. Yeah, what a tournament! This has been great. This has been this whole season, and this tourney has been something we've never experienced before. And to do this in an inaugural event, and just watching this entire thing kind of take off from the ground up, it's been awesome.
No, and it's been great watching you this season. I know we talked about it a little bit before the show. Has it been a grind this week or this year, or has it been a kickoff?
I mean, every single week is a lot of work, whether it's all the trades, all the draft prep, all of the waiver wire activity, and kind of what you're going to plan to do, who you're going to plan to start, and who you're wondering whether or not you should bench a starter or whatever. All of that takes a ton of work. I'm constantly looking at all the matchups that are going on at the same time, constantly interacting with people just because it's fun, and that's what makes this whole thing so special. But none of this stuff is simple.
Yeah. Obviously you've made a lot of trades this year. Is there any trade in particular that you made that you think really helped seal you being the number 1 seed?
Well, I mean, there's been so many. It's really hard to say one of them has been important. I will say the inaugural trade that made me so famous, of the Buttermaker trade, was the one that kicked it all off for me, because that's really the first trade I made, kind of a handshake deal behind the scenes to get everything going. And then these trades at the trade deadline, while smaller, were, I think, really critical for me. And I honestly felt just as excited about those trade deadline deals that I did when I made those initial deals in the during the draft and in the first draft show announcement.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've had a ton of trades this year. What's the outlook for DBU going into the tournament?
Well, we got a bye week to look forward to, so I'm going to enjoy my rest. I'm going to look at these other matchups eagerly and trying to kind of see what happens. The one thing that I kind of looked at week to week is what's really helped me is just being super consistent. I think I've scored less than 900 points in a single week once this season, and that's what's really carried me through week to week. Is that I really haven't had a week where I've just, completely tanked myself. So I'm hoping that my starters will line up to have some good matchups. That'll get a lot of 2 starters, double starters for the first week in week 16. That's going to be kind of key. I hope that I don't sustain any injuries this week, because it would really stink to be in the playoffs on this bye week, and then I can't start somebody really critical the following week when it matters. But as far as these matchups, I was looking at these while y'all were talking and listening to all of the comments and everything else. There's not a single matchup in this tourney that I think is just a walkover. I think everyone that's here has earned their right to be here, and I think that each of these matchups, whoever wins in this first week, we're going to have some upsets. But whoever makes it into the 16 is going to be a tough match.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree. I think every team here has merit, but of them all, I think you have the most merit. And I appreciate everything you've done for the league, and your hard work to get to that 1 seed. Any final comments from you on the tournament?
Just I've enjoyed the ride, and if I put some what do I call it, props to myself, it's just that I've been able to go 40-0 to get to this place, including the 7 matchups in the Buttermaker. That feels really good to be able to say I've gotten 40-0. And congrats to all 8 conference champs. You've made $250, 5 times what you put into it to this point, and anything can happen. So I'm looking forward to the matchups ahead, and I'm hoping that I'll continue with the dominance and success hope to represent you guys to my highest expectations in each matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what DBU can do in the tournament. Appreciate you hopping on and chatting with us, and good luck in the tournament.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good night.
You too, Dr. Dub.
Dr. Dub. So that's our national tournament reveal right there. Those are all the teams on the screen that are going to be competing over the next couple of weeks to win the national championship and win it all in an inaugural season. And I think that means a lot. I think, I hope this league keeps going year after year. But the first season, it just means the most. It just means the most to win the first season, and I would be happy with any of these teams winning. I think all of these teams have worked so hard throughout the season, and I think like Dr. Dub said, there's a ton of merit for everyone who's here. I think we got a couple minutes left before we get to the 2-hour mark. Chris, any matchups that catch your eye maybe in the round of 16?
I think for me in the round of 16, I think FAU being a top 10 scoring team facing off potentially against our Dr. DBU here is definitely a really fun one, right? It's not the luckiest draw as the 1 seed if FAU were to make it through. Taking a look here, I see, Penn State's matchup I think is a really interesting one too, right? We talked about the mirror matches with Illinois State and just how good Santa Clara is. And then the other one that's really sticks out that I mentioned is the Tennessee and the Indiana State matchup, right? They get Northern Colorado, and I'm sure, again, when you look at the bracket, 1 and 2, we already said, right, there isn't an easy matchup here, right? Realistically, there isn't an easy matchup you got here entirely off merit. But the 1 and 2s can be rewarded with 2 top 7 scoring teams as their first opponent here in the round of 16. So lots of fun matchups, but I think those 2 are probably the ones that I'd highlight the most, depending on who wins.
For sure. Peter, anyone that catches your eye in the round of 16?
Yeah, I'm honestly interested to see who Northern Colorado plays. Tennessee and Indiana State, I think, are much better than their ranking would suggest.
Yep.
And they could definitely give the number 2 seed a run for their money.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think in that same respect, I look at both Georgia Southern, Cal, UCLA, Rhode Island, and then the other one over at the bottom, Bryant and LSU against Clemson. So those are some matchups where teams coming out of the wild card could do some damage in the round of 16 against a team who's coming off a bye. So definitely some interesting matches in the wild card. Definitely some interesting setups for the round of 16. Like I said before, I'm looking forward to this tournament. I think it should be really, really great. We're coming up on 2 hours, so we'll close it out. As always, I appreciate both you, Peter and Chris, for hopping on and talking CBL with me today. I love this. I love you guys know I love data. I love putting these graphics together. I love talking about the league, this crazy ass league that we're in. Shout out to all the owners that called in and were giving their thoughts. Shout out to all the owners who gave their comments before. I think it made really great content, and I think it really talks about how close this league is too. I think I'll give a special shout out to Andy. I mean, you talk about the personal life as well. I think that's really, really some growth for the league there, and everyone giving him congratulations and talking about the dad powers is really cool, really cool. So I love that from the league. When we get to a personal level, it looks like we're closing out, but it looks like someone's sliding in here just at the end.
Get ready for the next half hour, boys.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear, brother.
That's beautiful. I put the headphones on while driving because I just had to stop in and say hello. And I know Chris is really annoyed with me right now, so it really means more to me to show up right now for our boys here. It just boys, what the fuck are we doing, boys? How did this happen? Who let this happen?
just a quick context. We have the most interesting man in the CBL, a former assassin, Ram, calling in. Now we can add to the resume, inaugural Big East champion. Ram, what's going on?
First up, this is a conference champions only conversation. You can hang out for a little bit. Don't worry, it's okay. I see you're already getting in with your comments and stuff, but this is a conference champion. DBU was on, I was on. This is a good moment for us. I first off, we need to talk about Baylor for a second, man. If we have brought that data back, Baylor gave me a 0% chance to win the conference championship. 0. Absolute 0. Not 0.1, not 2.9, not 0.6 like the other guys in the Big East. 0%. And I said it once before, and I'll tell you what makes me happy. The goddamn UConn Huskies cannot read and they cannot do math. So nobody told them they had a 0% chance in this tournament, and that worked out real well for them because somehow, some way, they managed to win. And now they get to rest, and none of this makes any sense, guys. None of this makes any sense to be able to take down the only other undefeated team, as Dr. Dub has mentioned, perhaps the undefeated team with an asterisk because they took them out in the Buttermaker. But, all jokes aside, Rhode Island has an outstanding team. I did not believe I was going to be able to pull it off. Kai Wen-Tang, probably the difference maker, after warning Bernabel and David Peterson saved my ass. So I got no idea what's going on, boys. I don't know how this happened.
I think we know exactly what happened. You put some prayers out to the group and they were answered. What do you have to say to that?
I don't know if I should appreciate the people who hate me more because they kept me in their thoughts. Or no, I actually do want to say I didn't expect the outpouring of support considering the amount of jackassery that I perform on this podcast and on the New York Power Hour on a regular basis. The outpouring of support, perhaps for the underdog, perhaps from the furries, from the people that I didn't expect representing the Huskies here, not from Chris, but from everybody else, Peter and Luke, you guys looked out for me, and I appreciated that because I got to say the positive energy got it done. The positive energy made it happen because nobody gave us a chance. Mathematically, we were eliminated before the tournament started at 0%. We didn't have a chance, and somehow these boys snuck in. So I honestly couldn't be happier about it. I'm out tonight, or else I've had a whole good promo and everything prepared, and maybe I'll keep it going if something happens. But it's fun. All jokes aside, it's actually really fun. Luke, you were talking about it. I mean, this league is going to go on for a long time, many, many years. But it is really fun that at least as much as it makes Chris upset when I talk about things over and over because my ADHD will make me repeat it and I'm an asshole. But it's really fun for me because now I get to forever look at our boy over there and say that I was a conference champion in year one and he wasn't. And at the same time, no, but it is actually really fun for the fact that somehow I'm a conference champion. I think there were a lot of deserving teams in the Big East, right? I mean, Butler, Bryant, and Rhode Island were all really good. But to knock off the 3 seed, the 2 seed, and the 1 seed in order to win does feel really good. It feels like an actual Cinderella run in fantasy baseball, which is insane.
No, it's definitely a feat. And you mentioned the jackassery, and I will say I think we've kept a pretty clean show throughout. And then you joined in and dropped the explicits. I love it. But even with all of the jackassery, you're still getting those positive thoughts from people, and I think that speaks to your personality. You got a great personality, Ram, and I think the league really loves you. I think you're the antithesis of Chris. You're definitely one of the good guys in the league. A little bit of a bootlicker, but we still love you, man.
And your profile picture, it's just absolute. That jawline. We talk a lot about Luke's jawline here, but Ram, we're gonna have to start talking about yours.
That's a good look.
I was doing some work. I was doing some work because you got to remember, Luke is my commissioner. right? So you always got to give the commissioner some credit. And so I wake up every morning and think like, WWLD, what would Luke do? And when I looked at that jawline, and when Ivan Nova himself came around and said, this jawline's cutting glasses, I thought to myself, what would Luke do? Luke would work on this jawline. And that maybe got me that conference victory. That's the kind of work that you need to do to make it out of the Big East, to get past these big three teams. I took it to heart. You can see the proof is in the pudding right there in that photo.
Yeah, I think the American Conference definitely has some merit for being the best, for getting 5 teams into the Natty. But looking at your profile picture and seeing me, I think the Big East has an argument for the best looking conference. Like no doubt in my mind. It doesn't even matter what the rest of the league looks like. The rest of the conference looks like. I think you're definitely holding up your end there.
First off, I appreciate that. We're all going to be, there'll be some photography taken later in this week when some of these podcast members get to see each other. We can compare draw lines and all that. I see Andrew out there saying the world needs a UConn versus PSU Natty. The enemies to friends storylines are always my favorite ones in anime. So I love how we've gotten to that point where PSU and I have gotten to a point where we have mutual respect. I'm happy for him too, and him winning that out. Shout out to all the guys who were nice to me, encouraged me this week. Some of the NIT teams, Chuck was out there too, shouting me out, Dr. Dub himself. And it feels nice. It's actually a lot more. I knew this was going to be a fun league because who the fuck has 128 fantasy team league but us, right? But the crazy people. But this was even more fun than I expected. And I think just about anybody who's gotten to this point in the league seems to share those emotions.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been a wild ride, and I think it's been a wild ride for all 128 teams. Ram, I'll ask you one last question because I've asked this to the other managers who have called on. What's the outlook for UConn in the tournament? What are your thoughts? How far do you think you can go?
We're gonna get really drunk. We are going to get really drunk. Those boys have earned themselves the blue label and the good whiskey, because this is when teams like Baylor, the guys who are out there doing the math, write you off before you even have a chance. I think they deserve a couple days of the good stuff. I think it's real important that they get what they deserve. And the fun thing, DB was touching on the payout. I mean, the first round bye week, that's an automatic, at worst, Sweet 16 appearance, right? So I think I'm going to just have a little fun, just pep talking the boys, telling them how proud I am of them coming through at the end of the wire, getting that little signed David Peterson jersey type of thing, because if I held on to Logan Webb instead of David Peterson, I wouldn't have made it this far. If I didn't pick up Warden Bernava, wouldn't have made it this far. Kai wouldn't have made it this far. So those boys deserve the extra shot. They deserve the credit and the love, and I got to make sure that they feel appreciated for who they are. And you guys too. As much as I joke, I thoroughly, part of the reason I wanted to go this far was not necessarily money, was because the content is a lot more fun when I get to sit here with you all and talk about the team, and it's still in. Mike says I gave Washington State a chance. Yeah, you gave UConn 0. Again, I want to be very clear about that. 0. That is a number that is nothing. Nada. Zilch. You looked at my team and said there was no chance, under no circumstances, the world could end. People could die. Things could happen. But UConn could not win the conference championship. Mathematically, there was no way that this team could win the conference championship. But it happened.
I think we now know that Baylor math is not as good as Steiner math, so I feel like that's official now.
Well, Ram, I appreciate you calling in. I don't think I'd want the show to end any other way than you giving yourself your flowers and talking up UConn. Missed you on the show tonight. Obviously, we'll catch up this week. I think with that said, I think we'll close out the show a little bit over 2 hours. Again, I appreciate all the owners who called in. Appreciate Ash. I mean, more than anything, for putting this league together and keeping us all organized. Wish he was on tonight. I know he wasn't feeling well, so I hope he's feeling better. Thanks to all the owners out there. Thanks to everyone who's watching. And we'll get started on this tournament. I'm looking forward to it. From Peter and Chris and Ram, who's on the road, I thank y'all, and catch y'all next week.